something like this, make sure you do it right and you invest the time and the energy that you should in making the right choice.
Yeah. I totally agree that being a business owner is not for everyone else. And most people are not, they're employees. Most people are not a business owner
Yeah.
or somebody who's like self employed or whatever. But I think that in many cases, people are so afraid of the change that they even don't check the possibilities
Mm.
because they're afraid that this open door might put them in a position that is so uneasy, in an uneasy situation, that they just try to avoid it. And
Yeah.
you see people that are stuck in an organization that you cannot change. There are so many circumstances that you cannot change because this is your position. This is what the other people are doing. You don't have other role that is open for you, especially if it's not a big organization, and people would stay there. And it's not like I'm not criticizing that. I'm just questioning what is the reason that they would stay. And I think that most people are looking for stability and they're trying to avoid change. And therefore, sometimes they're not doing things, even if they really, really want to do it and they could do it. Like most
Yeah.
people could do some kind of change and they're avoiding it.
Yeah.
And what
But
do
I
you
think
think?
there the fear there comes from the unknown. Nothing creates more stress than uncertainty and insecurity. People need security, and especially when it comes to finances and having a family to look after and you have bills to pay, bring in the element of the unknown, and that stress just escalates to amazing levels, right? Which is understandable. It is understandable. I
Sure.
mean, it was the same for me. That's why it took so long to make this decision to start FIGGI and take a break from Calibrix. And I'm sorry I did it that way. I feel like I could have done it better and I could have made the decision sooner. But I was terrified of the unknown. I was terrified of taking that financial cut. I was terrified of starting, when I started my consultancy, I didn't need to have a lot of startup capital because I was rendering services which was based on my experience and my expertise and my knowledge. I didn't need to mass produce products or um, formulate samples and pay for these things. All of a sudden I was not only just taking away finances from my family, I was actually investing finances into having to pay for all these things. And that's scary and terrifying. But I think the thing that really, really sucks about that is the only way you're going to know if it's going to work is if you're going to try.
Yeah,
So
for
are you going
sure.
to take the leap or are you not going to take the leap? And either way, don't judge yourself. If you feel like you do not have at this moment the mental like fortitude or the courage or the time or the commitment to do it, then don't force yourself to do it. But if you're
Hmm.
going to take the leap, then be all in.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. So we're almost done. We could talk for hours, I think. But I would think like, what would be your tip for people who are just having this question mark in front of them? What would be your tip when they're I think they need to get to a stage. It needs to be really, really hard in order for them to decide to move on. What would be
Yeah.
your tip to these people?
My tip would be to feel it, feel the fear. Don't walk through it, don't avoid it, because you're avoiding the fear and the uncertainty, it's making you stop and think and not do. Feel the fear, confront it head on. Like, for example, write down for yourself, be the worst pessimist and put it in black and white. What is the worst thing that can happen if you take this chance or if you take this step, and make peace with that? Because that fear is what creates, you know th- everything else, the stress, the not doing it. So get real with that and feel it. And if it's something that's holding you back because it's something that you still need to sort out within yourself, what do you want, where do you want to go, what is your purpose, then get real with that. Face your own pain, face your own struggles. We're always trying to avoid these things, and it's this avoidance that actually comes back to
Sure.
be the greater problem. So yeah, just feel it,
Yeah.
and just look at it head on.
Yeah. Like one of the things, I don't know if I told that in my podcast, but one of the things that I really love to do is to learn. And I always take some kind of a course or a session or something in the university each year. And last year, I went and studied ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy.
Yes, yes,
And yeah, and it's like, it was so interesting just to see that the fact that people are trying to avoid pain or confusion, uncertainty, being hurt, this is something that is one of the, or maybe the main thing that makes their life so much harder. And sometimes you do need to allow yourself to be in that mess
yeah,
and to be in that pain in order to allow yourself to do something else. Because if
yeah,
not, the avoidance, it takes so much, such big toll on your life, and it's so many resources in order
yeah,
not to feel disappointed, and not to feel sad, and not to feel frightened. We're doing so much more. And
yeah,
sometimes we just need to let it be. And when we're allowing ourselves to be frightened and to be even overwhelmed, sometimes we could find ourselves on the other side after
yeah.
that.
But just to be clear though, I mean, it's horrible. It's
Yeah,
horrible to go through that, and it's horrible to face it, and it's terrifying to think of it, but I don't know, it's like pulling off the band-aid, it's worth it in the end. But
yeah,
it's not easy.
it's not. I totally agree. So it's been a pleasure to talk to you,
Thank
Jean,
you so
and I
much.
really enjoyed it. So how could people hear more about FIGGI and what you're doing? Tell us.
So you can find us on the Figgy Life website, FIGGI life.com. And there you will also find the blog, the podcast, but you can also find us on all the social media networks, Instagram, Facebook. You can just look for Figgy or Figgy Beauty, and then you would be able to find us.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna look for the things for the beauty, and I'm gonna check it out.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Jean, and having this open-hearted discussion is always like wonderful for me. I really enjoyed it, so thanks.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Sure, and to all of you change makers out there, thank you for joining me. And if you want to learn more about what I do, go to invincibleinnovation.com, and I'll see you next week with another innovative, insightful talk. See ya.